So out on a recce, the Barkley course, with a group of locals who are all, everybody's entered for the race. Just a chance to see what it's like. Elevation, maybe learn a bit of the route. Start thinking about it after the move. Generally just get out and get some miles on feet in a familiar terrain. Be my longest run since the Yao Yai Ultra by a long way, so let's see how it goes. Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 3 of the Barkley Marathons series. And in this episode, I thought it was time to talk a bit more about the race because episode 1 and 2 have mainly been about the move from back from Thailand to the UK that I've taken. So time to talk about the crazy race and how I'm approaching training for it. And I've also been on a recce run with a group of other runners who are taking on this crazy race, so I've got that to show and go through as well, and then to look ahead to the rest of the series and the race itself. It's a cracking video. Let's get stuck in. It should be really interesting. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to the channel. It's really great when that grows and becomes bigger, and I'd like to take as many people along this journey for this adventure and the following ones as possible. So please smash that subscribe button. A thumbs up. It makes a real difference to me and it's really appreciated. Thank you so much. So the Barkley Marathons in the UK take their inspiration and starting point from the Barkley Marathons in America. If you haven't heard of that, you need to go and check out the Barkley Marathons documentary. I think you can see it on YouTube at the moment. The Race That Eats Its Young. It is one of the best ultramarathon films out there and one of the craziest races. I can't quite comprehend that I'm taking on something that can even share a name and some parts with it. It's a big step for me and I'm very excited about it. But basically, it is 5 loops where you have to navigate between certain checkpoints. Each of those checkpoints you have to find a hidden book and take the page that corresponds to your race number for that lap. How you get between those points is up to you. So there's a definite element of navigation. More on that when we get to the recce that I carried out at the end of this video. So you got to navigate between all of the different checkpoints and complete each loop, bring back all the pages. And if you found every book with the right page, then you get to go out on the next lap. And the aim is to complete 5 laps to finish the race. The American version has had a very few finishes over its course. With each lap being around a marathon, I can see why. In the UK, the terrain is much more forgiving. It's not as steep and it's definitely not as overgrown. So the time limit has been greatly reduced and it's 24 hours from 9 AM on the Saturday to 9 AM on the Sunday to complete all 5 laps. And the challenge therefore comes from the reduced time rather than so much the terrain and obviously the distance as well. For me, it's a fantastic challenge that once I saw it, I couldn't really ignore it. It's one of those things that when you spot it, you just know that you shouldn't do it, but you also know you can't miss out. In this case, it's the first edition, and this is the first year this race is running. It's half an hour away from where I live. And the Barkley Marathons was probably the ultramarathon documentary that got me excited and interested in ultra running in the first place. But those things together, I just felt like I had to sign up for it, despite the move of countries that was happening beforehand. I figured I'd still be able to keep training. But if you've seen my previous 2 videos, you know that training's not been going as well as or as consistently as I would have hoped for over the summer. And I'm now 5 or so weeks out from this race with a lot of work to do still. But for me, it's going to be a fantastic challenge. 2 laps, 2 marathons, 84 kilometers-ish, would be my longest run anyway. Currently, it's the 70k FKT for the west coast of Phuket. It was my longest run to date. But I have also done an 18-hour effort for Everesting with a lot of elevation. So I think there's some mental strength that I have that can help me get there. So I'm going in with the goal of 3 laps and I'm not going to rule out 4, but that would be a huge leap for my mileage. We'll see how it goes on the day, but we'll go out and aim for 3, which classifies as a fun run finish rather than a full finish. So 3 seems like a lovely target, but that is a really long way, and it is a good 50 kilometers further than I've ever been before in one go, which seems like a nice step. This is presuming, of course, I don't get horrifically lost and I actually do manage to finish. It sounds like it's going to be a great challenge because not just the distance, but the format of the race is completely different to anything I've ever done before. Having to find the checkpoints, having to navigate, adds to the interest, and it feels like it's more a group of runners against a course rather than any kind of race. So it's going to be more an experience and a challenge. I think it definitely hits the target of a big adventure, another big adventure to hit with average talent, and breaking 100 kilometers is my minimum goal. Well, minimum goal is the longest run I've ever done, 2 laps. 100 kilometers would be my B goal, and the A goal would be 3 laps, and obviously the A-star goal is to go for a 4th if time, body, mind and spirit allow at that time. It's a crazy challenge. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think it's a good idea to take on challenges this difficult in a later video about mindset for taking on things that seem impossible. I'm also going to talk about how I'm going to do fueling, nutrition, race strategy a little bit later on when I've kind of figured those things out as well. So let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see in this series of how to prepare for something that is a huge step up, whatever that might be. In this case, 3, 4 or 5 marathons. I think 3 or 4 marathons in 24 hours. And it's not a easy course, as you'll see in the recce video later. Specifically, the sheer number of gates and styles to be crossed, I think, will add to it. So into the last 2.5 miles of the Barkley recce. Great to see the course. It's going to be really hard to navigate, so many paths and footpaths and small gates, so I'm really glad I came and had a look around. It was awesome to be shown around, and definitely my takeaway is that this is not a course to be messed with. It is tough to navigate fast. Getting 5 in 24 hours would be serious. So, what did I learn from my training, run and recce? Well, firstly, it was just awesome to get out with a good group of runners and to just run a long distance. It's the first time I've gone for a really long run since the Ultra Trail jungle race in Yaoi. So it was that 60 kilometers, but that was the start of June, so a good few months ago now. Since then, I haven't managed much over 20-24 kilometers. So a 47k effort yesterday was a really good physical experience, forgetting the fact that I got to see the course. In terms of the course, navigation I feel will be tough, but simply because there are so many ways you can't go. I think looking at the American version, you're kind of navigating through the woods and you can get completely lost. I think here there are footpaths, but some are really hard to find. Sometimes the fields are there's a way through if you know it. If not, the signs on the footpaths don't always match up with the direction to go in the field. Some of them really don't look like footpaths. So I feel that there's going to be a lot of difficult navigation and possibilities of just missing a turning and getting a bit stuck where roads and footpaths don't connect. So I feel like that's a worry. I could lose a lot of time. I'll have to do some preparation there. So my steps to go and buy some maps and sit and plot some routes. In terms of the terrain, it was fairly runnable for the vast majority of it. There's a lot of gates, a lot of stiles, a couple of hills, but I don't think the elevation was too much of an issue. And the hills are not as steep as the Thailand ones I'm used to. The weather's going to be a challenge for me. We had rain and wind and sun and pretty much everything in between those things on our recce run. And obviously 24 hours could lead to a lot. So I need to get used to running in the rain and wind and colder temperatures. So I think maybe my gear choices will be interesting. I've got to dig all my wet weather and colder weather running gear out of storage, get that washed and water resistant treated and back up and running again. But I think the course gave me confidence that it's going to be okay. But it's not a fast course with the gates, with the hills. I'm getting through fields that were a bit overgrown and hard to run fast on. So I think it's going to be a very, very tough day out. It is a beautiful part of the world, so it's going to be nice. And also, I think I hadn't appreciated how good it's going to be to run with a big group of people on the day, of people who are also crazy enough to take on something this ridiculous. There is a little bit of my mind, and just in the back of my mind, going, why didn't you just sign up for the Bristol half marathon that's on the same day? But there'll be plenty of half marathons. There's only one chance in my life to run the first edition of the UK Barkley Marathons. So as crazy as it seems, I'm going to give it my best shot and we're going to go for it. So I'll catch you all next week for episode 4. We're going to look a little bit about gear and an update on how training is going now it seems to finally be kicking in. See you next week, and don't forget to hit subscribe and get involved. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this one. It's going to be an epic and crazy day out. Let me know what your thoughts. Would you ever do anything like this? What would be your equivalent of a big crazy day out, or a huge challenge that you're not sure you want to take on and you're thinking about? What have you got lined up? Let me know. Let's carry on the conversation in the chat below. See you next time.